Welcome to True Incredible Stories. Today's story happened right here in Ridge Run Park in West Bend, Wisconsin. If you've experienced something similar, we'd love to hear about it in the comments below. If you're enjoying this video, please remember to like it and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Do you want to introduce yourself and share your story?
Yeah, my name is John and I'm from West Bend and I've lived here for over 30 some years, and this story is a fairly old story, but it still has always been a mystery to me and to anyone I've talked to about it. We are basically on the back end of some local hiking trail near Ridge Run Park, where I used to live. There's a set of apartments that are over there behind those trees, and basically we used to live there before we built our house, and we would walk this trail almost every day because I had a Doberman pinscher named Bandit, and she really liked exercising. It's a really nice hiking trail through Ridge Run Park. And one night as we walked through the whole trail and we're coming back up this path near where our apartment is, as we're walking through with the Doberman, all of a sudden the Doberman kind of like acted like she was suspicious or something. You kind of get a feel for how your dog acts, and I could tell she thought something was up. And all of a sudden, coming from out over there, although today the grass is not as thick or as high as it used to be, it was thicker the night that we were coming through in the evening, right around sunset time. I don't remember the exact time, but it was near sunset. And we were coming through here, and the dog got a little scared or suspicious, and all of a sudden I heard this growling coming from back in those trees over there. Just some crazy growling, and it sounded like, you know, it stopped my wife and Leanne, what's that all about? And I remember I told her, I said, I don't know, it sounds like some crazy wild animal. Just don't look at it, don't look in that direction, just mind your own business and keep walking straight out the path. The thing is, my dog, actually had killed things like raccoons and things in the past. So, and being a Doberman, she was not usually a timid animal or whatever, but she just kept walking straight down the path too, just like this. We walked straight through the path and just kept our eyes straight ahead, and we could hear the thing coming in the grass, and every now and then it would give a little growl.
What did it sound like?
It was hard to say. At that time I would have swore that it sounded like a cougar, or back in those days was the days when they were having all these stories about, oh, cougars spotted in the area and things. It sounded like a cat of some sort. It at least sounded like the animal was about this tall, because it was moving through the grass. You could hear it moving through the grass, and that's how tall the grass was. And basically we just kept on going, and we walked out and nothing happened. That's only the first part. That's not what makes it incredible. So anyhow, I told this story to everybody that, at work. I also ran into salesmen, people from all over the state, and described the noise and all this type of stuff, and got suggestions to what it was. Some thought it was a raccoon, but I listened to raccoon noises and I know it was not a raccoon. Some thought it was even as stupid as screech owls and things, but it wasn't a screeching. It was more like and to elaborate a little more, I lived in the apartments behind these trees and things like that, and every once in a while when I'd take our garbage out in the evening time, early evening, I would hear growls, and really loud growls coming from those trees back there. And I would swear, to me it sounded like something from a cougar commercial. In the old days they had a car called Mercury Cougar, and they would go and it sounded just like that. Really got awful screaming going on back in the woods here. But we lived here and we hiked here all the time. There was also, in the past, this was not a city park, it was a county park, and there was a ranger house over in the park, and this kind of made me curious, you know, so I went to the ranger's house and told him my experience, and he said he hadn't had any reports or anything like that, but he told me that he did know that he shot a rabid raccoon over on a boardwalk through a marsh, and maybe that was it. But I wasn't buying that. So basically, never figured that out until, and I still didn't figure out. But then, I alluded to earlier, we lived in the apartment, but we were building a house. And one night, after doing painting with a friend from work at the house, I told him this story, and he said, "Why don't you show me where this all happened?" So I said, "Okay, let's go over there," and I'm gonna have to act this out. You can edit it any way you want. So I was walking with my friend down this path, coming this way, and we're walking, and I'm going, "Yeah, we're getting to be, this is the area," and we're almost at the exact same time of the day and everything. And right when I got here, this is when we heard the sound. And all of a sudden, I heard this sound. It was so uncanny, you'd almost think that there was like some kids with a tape recorder or something like that out in the woods waiting for people to come by to scare them. Because when I got right to this spot, the howling started. And my friend looked at me and "You gotta be kidding me." And we could hear it coming through the grass. And I said, and at that time, it seemed it was coming this way, and we didn't want to like turn around. So we started walking slowly like this into the woods over here, and we could hear it coming, and we heard it growling, but it wasn't running. It was kind of going kind of slow, moving through the woods here, or through the grass here, and we kept on going. And I know we're not supposed to do this. I know you're not ever supposed to do it, but we just kept walking. We didn't like turn our backs and run, but we just kept on acting like we ignored it. And as soon as we got to where we thought that it might not be able to see us, we just took off. And ran as fast as we could. I was a lot faster back in those days. And we ran, come on with me for a little bit, but we ran all the way through this whole path. And we kept on going, and we kept on going. This path goes on for a long ways, and we didn't hear it following us after a certain point. So we went really far down the path.
Wow.
My friend freaked out. He swore it sounded like a cougar to him too. The only thing I could say is I know you saw it have me stumbling when I was running. I used to run a lot faster, and also I was faster than my friend. So it's the old story of how do you outrun a bear? You just don't have to outrun a bear. You just have to outrun whoever you're with. And I knew I was faster than him. And we ran, I would say, at least another good quarter-mile down the road before we stopped. And then we just waited to see if we heard it anymore.
And did you hear it anymore?
No, and we didn't. And we didn't come back this way either. We came back through a different path in the park.
And you never found out what it was?
Never found out what it was. Listened on the internet a few times to try to get different animal sounds and things. And nearest it could sound like would be something like a bobcat. I'm thinking that it was a bobcat. That's my own guess, but never could I really actually identify with it. But it was my incredible story.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, hopefully someday someone else maybe would be watching this video from this area, and they would maybe perhaps have experienced the same story and share what they know about it.
That would be great. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Yeah, so like I said before, we live right around here in this apartment over here, and I would come down out that door and take my garbage out to the dumpster in the evening, follow me, please. And if you look, you can see the wooded hill over the edge. And I would hear the cougar cries coming from that hill, which is basically the other side of the hill is the path that we did the majority of the interview on. So I would come over to the dumpster, hear the noise, and go, wow, that's pretty crazy, and go back into the house. That was part of the story.
Okay. So John, why did you bring me here?
The reason why I brought you here is this is a footpath, another one of the footpaths that goes around Ridge Run Park. It's kind of an unofficial trail, but the people that live in these apartments that you can't see from behind the bushes here walk through here a lot. At least we used to do it all the time. The trail that's over here on my right literally goes right up over that hill that where I pointed out earlier in the, where the animal noises were from. So in other words, this is south of the animal noise hill, where when the main interview that you interviewed me on was north on the other side. So this is the other side of the hill, just off from the back of those apartments that I showed you with the dumpster and things. And basically, when I would come out in the evenings, sometimes, not all the times, I would come here around sunset, around the same time, and I would hear sometimes animal growling coming from that direction, from the same basic direction as it happened in the two really more scary encounters that I had.
Did it sound like the same thing?
It sounded exactly like the same thing, and I was convinced that the animal must have like a burrow or a nest there. And I also, if you turn this way and you look down here, this path goes straight down the hill. Again, it's running to the right hand side. Let me walk over this way. To this side is that same area where you would hear the animal growls. It's over here, the same areas where you would hear the animal growls coming from in the evening. Not every evening, just once in a while. But enough to make you think when you walked out that you might hear it. So basically I heard animal growls coming when I was walking up the hill. Heard the animal growls walking when I was over here. So I came back to this area sometimes like in the afternoon, in the middle of the day, like we're out here right now, and walk around and bring a big stick with me and bring another person with me and walk around and look in the trees, on the ground, in the rocks, looking for any type of burrow or anything like that we could find, or nest or anything that we could find. Did you see
any footprints?
And we could never, we looked for footprints, could not find a thing. But we know there was something out there because we could hear it walking in the long grass, and we could hear it making noises. Again, a lot of times it was so obviously sounded like a wildcat or a cougar. I was very suspicious that there could be some teenagers out there with a loud speaker or something like that, playing noises, but I could never find any evidence of anybody, or of any kids for that matter. I would say I'm gonna ballpark it. I probably heard it at least, let's say, 7 to 12 times.
Wow.
When we lived here. We lived here for a period of about a year.
Wow.
So that's the background to this story. So this is the environment that my incredible story took place in. To this day, I still don't know what it was.